be an effective sales manager, there are 7 foundational skill sets that you will need to work on and hopefully master. There's a lot of overlap between these skill sets, and you'll see the same recurring themes happening in a lot of different areas. The first skill set is one that I don't really have to talk about because we're talking about management more than anything else. But as a baseline, every sales manager should have at least a sales background. At the very least, understand how his or her own value proposition works and how the sale works. Having carried the bag is a very big plus and usually a prerequisite. You don't have to come from a background of being a supreme sales professional. Quite often, the best sales managers were not the best salespeople. While at the same time, a lot of great salespeople turn out to be not so great sales managers. There are 2 different skill sets, but there is a correlation. Either way, I'm going to trust that you already know how to sell. So I'll begin with the second set of skills, and that's leadership. There are 8 skills in total, and they really revolve around having a vision of the future, transformational leadership, culture, inspiring by example, having passion, strength of character, values, listening, and learning. The set of skills you need to capture and keep the hearts and minds of your team, lest they not decide to jump ship on you. Which, by the way, leads us to the next skill set, which is recruiting. Now, this is a skill set that a lot of managers don't think about, don't want to think about, but it's something that needs to be addressed so that you don't wait until the last minute when you actually have to fill the hole that you decide to recruit. It needs to be done proactively. And it includes 6 skills based around hiring, planning, networking, building your ecosystem, your cadence, your presentation, attitude, mentality, and qualification of candidates. The main takeaway is that it has to be done proactively, not reactively. The third skill set is training. So now you've hired somebody, you need to onboard them, you need to develop them, to assess them as they're going, connect them with resources internally inside the company, and provide them with a certain degree of direction. This skill set's broken out into about 5 key core skills that make it work, but they really revolve around onboarding, developing, assessing, connecting, directing. Whether it's a new person who needs to learn within the company or it's an existing person who is looking to improve upon something or learn a new skill or develop their career. This is very important in building loyalty because if people believe they can develop themselves at a company, they'll be much happier to stay as opposed to feeling like they have a dead-end job. So keeping your team fresh and keeping them motivated is one of the key critical points of building a good culture, building a good team, building an inspired team. And that brings in the 5th skill set, which is coaching. Coaching is all about assessing, correcting, optimizing, reinforcing good behavior, generally not about directing reps in a sense of controlling them, but rather making suggestions. In a way, it's kind of leadership by inception, or the Socratic method, if you will, where they can come to their own conclusions. It's extremely important for high-performing teams because these are typically sales reps that don't want to be told what to do, how to do it, and be micromanaged through the process. All in all, there are 6 key skills that make up coaching and which are absolutely critical in keeping your team running like a well-oiled machine. The next skill set is metrics, or management by metrics. This is where you're actually looking at the numbers, keeping track. This is the reporting function. This is what, when we talk about micromanagement, this is where the micromanagers tend to be very strong. Monitoring, reporting, overseeing, predicting, forecasting, all of the key aspects that make the numbers that go into the pipeline work, all of the KPIs that you're going to follow. What numbers are we going to track? How are we going to analyze them? What type of analysis are we going to do once we have this information? And what insight are we actually going to gain or hope to gain by looking at these numbers? How can we then use these numbers to communicate trends and information to the executive leadership team? How do we use this information to better coach our sales reps? Does our information live in a vacuum, or is it plugged into the various matrices of the company so that that information can be used in other areas? Think big data and analytics, for example. The key here is not just to look at the numbers and say this is what it is today, but rather to be able to spot trends and understand what the true insight is, to be both tactically and strategically analytical. The last skill set is the skill of adapting. This is particularly important because it revolves around company alignment, communication, learning. But at its heart, it's all about creativity and flexibility. Much of what's involved here is actually dealing with internal stakeholders as well as external stakeholders. You need to lead your team around obstacles, inside and outside of an organization. No organization is going to be immune from political issues, budgetary issues, and as a sales manager, no single day will ever be routine because markets change, products change, and you're dealing with people. There are 6 key foundational skills that make this up, many of which again overlap with the other skill sets. At the end of the day, be scrappy, be flexible, be a creative problem solver, because very little is predictable when you're on the cutting edge of performance.